All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And we are happy that it's a new year. So, Cheryl, may I have the slide for the invocation? So the good news is we have an induction today. The bad news is she was not able to get her link to work. So rather than having Megan in person, we have her by her phone. And we've got Megan Olson. So fellow Rotarians and honored guests, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Akron, it's my privilege to induct a new member today. Please allow me to introduce for membership, Megan Olson, proposed by Tom Knauer. Megan, you're beginning a great adventure in leadership, friendship, and service to your community with your invitation to membership. The Rotary Club of Akron has accepted you as a person of good character, high ethical standards, people who have a person with heart for service, and a person who will represent classification of a community leader. We've invited you to become part of this worldwide organization dedicated to encouraging and fostering the ideal of service above self, as Cindy said in her prayer. When we're non-virtual, we will present you your badge and pin, which is the Rotary wheel, the international symbol of Rotary. Then we will expect you to wear it proudly. Megan, you've been invited to join Rotary, but it's only through your own actions that you can truly become a Rotarian. We encourage you to learn all you can about Rotary and to strengthen your own leadership and communication skills by actively participating in the activities of this club, including attending weekly meetings, social events, and service projects. You will be provided many opportunities through this club and district to enhance and expand your professional and personal skills, and these opportunities will provide great value to you. You will also be provided with a number of opportunities to serve others through club service, vocational service, community service, and international service. I invite you, fellow Rotarians, to freely give of your time to make Megan feel welcome and provide her with guidance and friendship. Fellow Rotarians, please help me welcome Megan Olson, our club's and the world's newest Rotarian.
Thank
Megan,
you.
Would you mind saying a few words and introduce yourself to the club and drive safely?
I just landed at home, so I'm in my driveway, so I'm safe to speak.
All right.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really looking forward to specifically volunteering some time and doing what I can for the Rotary Club. It's very close to my heart. I've spent 10 years of my career until I decided to stay home with my daughter, working with individuals with developmental disabilities of all ages. So I'm looking forward to rebuilding some relationships in that area again, because it's something I've been missing the last several years.
Well, we're excited to have you with us, and we look forward to learning more about you. And so members, look for the Acrotarian. We'll have a little bio about Megan and even include some information about that daughter she stayed home with and her husband, Kurt. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, may we have the slide for our speaker. So today we're happy to present Gregg Mervis, President and CEO of Akron Summit Convention and Visitors Bureau and the John S. Knight Center. So Gregg, even though you survived working with Katie, we're happy to have you here and tell us some of the stories about what she was like in those days on the side. So please, welcome.
Good morning, thank you. And I promise not to tell any stories about Katie as long as she promises not to tell any stories about me. How's that sound? Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to meet with such a passionate group of people that want to make this a better world and a better community that we all live in. I wish that we were breaking bread together for many, many reasons. One, because I enjoy people, but two, because that's what I do. But we can't right now, but we will be able to at some point, as Dr. Rob alluded to earlier in the conversation. So I'm going to try and sort of roll through the topic that I was given was working around the pandemic and then plans for supporting businesses in the sector that depend on travel and tourism. So I'm going to try and compress sort of an 8-hour window into a 1-hour speech into about 20 or so minutes so that we can leave a little bit of time at the end for Q&A. Please know that my expeditious manner, as Steve or Katie or a lot of people on the call that I know, Julie, Carol, is no suggestion anything other than it's just my expeditious manner. Some people say I talk fast. I like to polite it up and dress it up, bougie it up, and just say that it's an expeditious manner. So I'll roll a little bit, if you don't mind, for context, let you know a little bit about, I'm going to talk sort of pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID. So for context, I'm going to give you a little bit about who we are and what we do. So we are the Akron Summit Convention and Visitors Bureau, 501c6 organization founded in 1972. In our prime, we were 36 staff team members, and we had about a $7 million budget. Within the purview of what we do as the Convention and Visitors Bureau, which I will call the Bureau, we manage the John S. Knight Center, which is the convention center hopefully all of you have been to, downtown Akron, for anything from a heart-to-heart breakfast to a round table to the tree festival, or whatever it might be, a gymnastics event, whatever it might be in between. The convention center, which is owned by the city of Akron, was opened in 1994. We took over management of it in 1995. We also, so that's soup to nuts, literally soup with our own chef and our own food service team, to nuts with our operations team, from custodial right up through AV, technical support, et cetera. Additionally, we manage Greystone Hall. Greystone Hall is located across the street, as the other side of the campus for us. Building was opened as the Masonic Temple in 1917. So we do manage 100 and I guess now 4-year-old building, 103, 104-year-old building. We took over management of that building in 1999. So we've been managing that building, 2009. So we've been managing that building for about 11, 12 years now. The Greystone, there's event space on the 2nd and 3rd floor, office space on the 4th floor. Ohio Shakespeare Festival is up on the 6th floor. And then we have 6 retail tenants on Mill Street, on what we call the Mill Street level there, that make up that. That building is also owned by the city of Akron, and we have a management agreement, a management contract with them. So on a larger scale for the Convention Bureau, our industry in Summit County pre-COVID represented 16,000 employees in a $1.1 billion industry. During the middle of COVID, we were one of the hardest hit industries, with about a 50% unemployment in the travel and tourism sector. Has rebounded just a little bit, still some underemployed, but that has rebounded a little bit. But we were whacked very, very hard, as many were. And please, if I may put an asterisk next to my comments, any comments I made about how bad our industry has been hurt is not taken away and is in full recognition of what other industries are going through also. But in the context of my conversation, my position, this is what I know best, so this is what I'm going to talk about. So this is not to take away from doctors and nurses and construction and anybody else in other industries that are going through COVID along with us. So that provides hopefully some context to the conversation here today. I started at Quaker Square in 1981. When I was in 9th grade, and I used to ride the bus from Litchfield Middle School, which they called middle schools back then, and clean the toilets and emptied cigarette butts at Quaker Square. I was there from 84 until 1995, when I left, 81 to 95, when I left to assume my position as director of sales at the Convention Bureau. Subsequently, through some fortunate luck and some great mentors, ascended to my current role, which I started in 2012 as president and CEO for the entire organization, and as I just described. So I've been on the same corner, working the same corner downtown Akron since 1984. So sorry about that. So let's talk a little bit about COVID if we can, sort of rolling the clock into where we are, as Dr. Rob alluded to a little bit earlier. And also, don't let my enthusiasm for the future and where we will be when we are on the other side of COVID take away in any way from my recognition of just how severe this is and my true understanding of the magnitude of this. I'm an optimistic person by nature, but that is not in any way suggestion that I'm not a realist or I'm not tuned in exactly what's going on. So please don't let my optimism take away from that. So March 16th was when it really hit hard. And when I look back at my notes, that was the first day that there was a realization that I actually had to triage and send people home. So we very quickly social distanced at the convention center and had a meeting. It's easy to do in an empty exhibit hall to stand feet apart. And we said to everybody, you know what, go home today. We're going to figure it out and you'll get an email tomorrow as far as exactly what we're going to do. So on the 17th, an email went out that said everybody's going to stay home. We're going to remote work for right now. Unfortunately, we had to make some really tough decisions, as many of you had in your industries. Then on the 30th, March 30th, we had to make some significant cuts. We let a third of the workforce go, lay them off. We took salary reductions across the board from the maintenance staff through myself and everybody in between. And then we had to do some really, really drastic budget cuts, and not only budget cuts, but making decisions as far as what worked for us, what we needed to do, and what we couldn't do. And the way to think about it for our industry, if I can, is everything that all the experts are saying not to do, from CNN to Fox News to MSN or wherever you watch, and there are no political statements here. Everybody says, don't meet, don't get together, stay apart, don't go to restaurants. Everything we do, the entire sector that we support, is about getting together, meeting, traveling, going to restaurants, having a beverage. So if you just think about it that way, you can sort of put your hands around, your mind around exactly what happened to our industry. Very quickly, the governor came out with limiting all events to 300 people. When you're on a 120,000 square foot event space, and then another 60,000 square foot event space over at Greystone, and then you support 61 hotels, 10 conference and meeting facilities throughout the county, and the most that they can have is 300, which reduces their profitability level. You can see where it became very problematic for our industry. Subsequent to that, in real time, we're now down to meetings of no more than 10 people. And in the event, the 10 people, if we would have a wedding, all 10 people at a table have to be from the same family. And they can't move, mix, mingle. You can only do the father-daughter dance. You can't do the cake cutting and all that kind of stuff, which, recognizing the magnitude of COVID, but if you're a bride that's been planning your wedding for 12, 18, some of them booked 24 months out now, that is not the wedding that you want. And I would argue it's not the wedding that you deserve. And as I look at the screen, you all can't meet and have your happiness and your conversations and the things that you talked about earlier, because of those restrictions, which I understand. So we're working towards finding clean, healthy, safe ways that we can get people the ability to meet. We're on a governor's task force with Governor DeWine as the industry sector for convention centers, as well as the Hotel and Lodging Association, to find out and figure out what those are. We have survived as an industry. When I think back and we talk about the Spanish flu, and I think about Greystone over there opening in 1917, and many crises and many tough situations, but we certainly as an industry and in my career have survived 3 different crises, significant national worldwide crises. One is, we all know, the tragedies that happened on 9/11. The other would be the crisis with the market crash in the housing market of 07 and 08 and the subsequent recession that followed. The differential between those crises in this one that we're certainly in right now is this, for our industry, certainly is excessive and prolonged. So it is significantly deeper than the other ones and is significantly more prolonged than the other crises. Again, not taken away from the magnitude of what they were. And one would argue that this is definitely a U and not a V in our return to normalcy, because we went down on March 16th and we'll be down for a year before things really start to begin to go back up, versus the other crises. When 9/11 happened, there was some time when all travel was shut down, but we began to return to normalcy significantly quicker. In 07 and 08, while things went down, they didn't go down as significantly. The return was a little bit longer with the financial return, but it was not down quite as far. So here we have the delineation in the marketplace, as well as the time that we've been down, which makes it significantly more tougher. So as I look at my clock right here, I'm about 10 minutes through my 20-minute chat, because I'm going to try and leave 10 minutes at the end. And I think that I think Jarvis is going to help with the Q&A at the end. So if you want to post questions in the chat, I think is how you, Jarvis, I'm sorry. Can't see my own notes under my cup of coffee.
That's all right, Iron Man.
Okay, he's working on his background there. He's going to help us with the Q&A. So I'm book anything you want to ask. If you want to put in the chat, it's kind of hard to do 2 things at once. So we'll try and roll into those maybe when we get done, and happy to answer anything that we can. And if I can't, I know that my friend Brian will be able to answer anything that there is about travel and tourism. And that's one of the best guys on this screen, one of the best guys in the city. So it's great to see him. Not taken away from you, Steve, but it's great to see you there. So since I'm about halfway through, those of you that know me, I'm going to go to the optimism side and talk a little bit about hope. And I do have hope, and I always have hope. And I have hope because I live in this community of these wonderful people. I'm born and raised here, and there's wonderful, resilient, scrappy people in this community. Additionally, it is a resilient, scrappy sector. The hospitality ecosystem is made up of some great people. They know how to have a great time, but they also know how to hunker down and change and morph and evolve with things and with the marketplace. So that's what gives me hope. I do feel we need to look beyond what's in front of us to have that hope. Again, the realization that it's here and nobody doesn't understand what's going on. If you don't know what's going on, you haven't read the wonderful Akron Beacon Journal, listened to 91.3, you haven't picked up the West Side Leader, you haven't turned on the news if you don't know what's going on. So we know what's going on. So we have to look past that and figure out how we're going to recover. So we started early on, probably by the 1st of April, we had a website portal called Rise and Thrive. And what that was intended to do was to create a single portal of assets for all of our hospitality partners where they could get asset information as far as the Greater Akron Chambers, funds that they were providing as far as grants that were available through the county, the Ohio Hotel Lodging Grant Program, what the current guidelines, restrictions, and opportunities were from the governor, what the Ohio travel and tourism sector was doing to help push things forward. There's Longwoods, which does a study called a traveler sentiment study every week since week 1. It talks about traveler sentiment and where they are, because that's what it's all really going to come down to. If you want to think about our industry and what we need to get back to normal is the sentiment of the traveler, what they believe in, if they believe they're safe. It doesn't matter whether they are or not, because we will only put them in situations where they are safe. But if they don't believe they're safe, they're not going to do that. How many times have you pulled up in front of a store and thought, I can run in there real quick and grab that gallon of milk or whatever it might be, but do I feel safe? Maybe I won't run in there and grab that gallon of milk. Maybe I do, and I'll put my mask on, I'll do my social distancing, do the things we're supposed to do, and you'll run in and do that. So when people start to feel safe is when we'll be able to do that. So that travel sentiment survey is always posted on that Rise and Thrive portal that we have to help our partners with these guidelines, PPP, PPE when it was first started, because no one knew where to get masks. So there was information where masks were available, where Purell or an alternate market for Purell was available. We then began, as that went forward and began to sort of tether to the industry and what people needed, we then felt, okay, now it's time to reactivate. And how do we push forward business? So now we've triaged, we feel we've helped everybody sort of figure out what to do and how to do it, what we can do and what we can't do, but now how do we push business? So that's when we came up with the Reactivate guide. And not only is it a guide, and we received some funding from a great partner at the Knight Foundation, help us do some paid social media for this. And they've been fantastic, Kyle and his team there. But the reactivation guide was to get people to reactivate the industry. And let's just be honest, it's a business to spend money. So there's different levels of sentiment, as I talked about a little bit earlier. So some people, they don't want to leave their house. So within this reactivation guide, there's 3 different components. So the first component is virtual. If you don't want to leave your house, how do you do things virtually? How do you tune on into the nightlight downtown Akron and watch a movie? And you pay them to watch the movie, so the nightlight gets some revenue going. How do you order food from Cilantro so that Cilantro is driving some revenue? They're employing a cook, they're employing somebody to clean up, they're employing somebody to do more marketing, whatever it might be. So that's all virtual. The other was Drive Up. So those people that are a little bit more comfortable and they're willing to leave their home, but they don't want to go anyplace. So it's Drive Up. What can you drive up? Where can you go see a movie? Where can you go to do something outside? Where can you go to the Summit Metro Parks? Congratulations on their 100-year anniversary they just read about in the Beacon today. So that was Drive Up, and all the things are listed as far as what you could do to drive up, have a date, and do whatever it might be. The last is the third of the 3, which is those people that are comfortable masking up. So they're the people that are comfortable going out and they want to and are willing to go to Luigi's or to Ken Stewart's or whatever it might be, follow protocol, mask up there. And they might be willing to go shopping, to go to Zebra Martel or to go to Don Drum or Akron Glass Works or wherever it might be. So we found that to be very, very helpful. And it was an excellent touch point for our partners out there in the industry. They attempt to drive revenue to what they're doing and put people in their cash registers, to be honest, to help those people that are locally employed, and also certainly to help tax revenue. The next is going to be the vaccination and the vaccination process and distribution. And I'm not, and I do not pretend to be an expert on this in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to try and use the right words here and not be offensive to anybody. But when, and these are not political statements, but when the vaccination is available to everybody and we get to that critical mass and that herd immunity rate, and people again go back to feeling safe to coming out and going to events. I stood for 25 years at the entrance of the ballroom when 600 people would come in for a dinner or a banquet, or 1,200 people would come in the exhibit hall for the Great Akron Chamber banquet or annual meeting or whatever it might be, or thousands of people for the Tree Festival, the Akron Marathon. We'd go to different hotels, welcome different groups, shake hands, hug, how you doing? Get in their faces, talk to them. I so desire to do that again. It is instinctually built into me. It's how I'm hard and soft wired, because that's what I do. But I think I do what I do because that's how I'm hardwired. I don't know when we're going to do that again. I do know that once we get the vaccination process and the travel sentiment back to a relatively normal level, people will begin to want to get out. My hope is that it's more towards Q2 than it is Q3 and Q4. I'm confident it'll be in Q3 and 4. I don't know that. Hopefully we'll get there towards the end of Q3. So let's say May, hopefully people will be getting out. I'm not a fool to think that when I say Q3 and Q4, that come September 15th, that there's going to be 600 people standing in the ballroom. Nobody's going to have masks on, and we're all going to be hugging and shaking hands and doing that. That's not going to happen. So it's incumbent upon us to figure out what we need to do differently. I never thought we'd talk about strategic seating, right? When we talked about strategic seating before, was the ballroom sits, or the exhibit hall sits 2,000 people. How do we get 2,200 people in there and not upset the fire marshal? That was strategic seating. Now, strategic seating is, where's our egress? Where's our access? How do we keep the tables 6 feet apart? Additionally, we talk about touch points. So touch points used to be, how do we touch people, make sure they know where we are and what we're doing, and how to get to hotels, and how to get from a hotel to a trail, to rent a bike, to do that. Now touch points are back in the kitchen. How do we minimize the number of touch points from when the food is delivered to when the person puts it in their mouth? So from the delivery person to the commissary receiving it, to it going into the kitchen, going in the freezer, coming out, being prepared, put on a plate, etc. So all those things are very, very new and very different. And that's what we have been doing for the past 9 months. What we will continue to do until we get out of this, but that's what's going to make the difference to getting people back to a comfort level, so that by a year from now, everybody is standing in the front of the exhibit hall and they're hugging and they'll be able to see everybody's face and not just these wonderful masks that we have, because we will get back to that new normal. And when we do, there is a pent-up demand right now of people instinctually or hardwired, whatever it is, like I, that want to get out and do things. But there's also, from a business perspective, there's a pent-up demand and need for salespeople to get out on the road to sell your product, to sell those widgets, to sell those pens, to sell whatever it might be. There's corporate travel that's needed. There's education travel that's needed. CEUs for attorneys, for doctors, for CPAs, whatever it might be. And then also leisure travel. I want to go where I want to go. And I'm tired of, this is anecdotally, and I'm tired of somebody telling me I can't go there. I want to go to Cedar Point, or I want to go to the beach, or I want to go to wherever it is. It was our 30th anniversary this past June, and with our daughter, who is 18, was 17 at the time, they were taking me to Paris and to Nice for 2 weeks, and that did not happen. And part of me was like really, really upset. But now I look back and I'm like, that's okay, because we're all still healthy and we're still happy. But I want to be able to go the end of this year. I don't know if we'll be able to go the end of this year. Maybe it'll be next year. I'm going to have to drag my daughter home from college, wherever she might go. And I'm trying to survive that. So any of you had tips on your one and only leaving and going to college and being an empty nester, pop that in the chat and let me know. But we do have a pent up desire to go places and see things and do things. So I do feel that when we do come back, it'll be like opening the sieve, and it'll really, really start to pour out. We will be leaner and stronger. And hopefully our industry will be more appreciated, because you all haven't been able to go to that restaurant. You haven't been able to go to Stan Hewitt. You haven't been able to enjoy the arts and culture that normally you want. You haven't been able to go to Lock 3. You have, to a lesser degree, go to Lock 3, ride on the Cauga Valley Scenic Railroad, whatever it might be, go to Akron Glass Works, go to Front Street downtown, Cauga Falls or down the Green or Hudson and Maine, whatever it might be. You've not been able to do that to the degree that we have been normally. So hopefully this will create some type of appreciation in an odd way for our industry and what we do. We will be leaner and we will continue to be that economic catalyst that we have been in the past. And when we do, speaking a little bit more specifically to downtown, I'm happy to talk about all this stuff in Akron, but the Tiger Grant phase 1 has been completed. Downtown Main Street looks phenomenal. Not as many people as we'd like. They just started phase 2. So phase 1 was Cedar Street moving north to Mill Street. Phase 2 is Mill Street moving north to Martin Luther King Jr. or 59 going over towards Luigi's and North Side. The Bowery project is coming along fantastic. Not only their apartments, but as well as a retail space and looking to lease that out. 171 Apartments, which was the law building. Prior to that was the Key Bank building. Prior to that was the Society building. Those apartments are coming along, will be occupied this year. So there'll be people living and moving around downtown. The Boutique Hotel will open up again. Lot 3 and Lot 4, if you've not been down there to see the murals that were done by Wheezy, which is spelled with a Q. Wheezy on the Lot 3 side facing north, a beautiful floral painting that she did along with the butterflies. And then Ace Born on the other side on the Lot 4 side, which is just phenomenal, and great piece in the Beacon Journal, Michael, about the young lady that was featured in that painting, and the lighting and everything was done for Christmas, and some of it still exists. You have to get back down there. Is getting some great national attention. The civic renovation, everything that's going on there. On a larger level, everything's going on downtown Hudson as well as downtown Cauga Falls is fantastic. The CAK, the Akron Canton Airport gate modernization and the new flights they've added certainly puts us in a position that when we get to the other side of this and travel flights increase, they're positioned really, really well. And Ren Camacho, the new CEO down there, is doing a great job on more of a local regional basis. The Hall of Fame Village has added sort of ebbs and flow and energy, but any project that size or that magnitude is going to. But when that is all done, will be a wonderful regional asset for us all. So I do have great hope with everything that's going on that there is a lot to come in the future. I have a very small piece of paper on my office. I'm in my home office today. It says 37. It just says 37 and it's circled, and it means nothing to anybody other than the 30, 40 people that are on this call. And I don't know if anybody knows what this means outside of you all that are about to find out. But we had 36 people when we started on March 16th, when all this started, was forced upon us. And we had 36 people when we began our layoffs on March 30th. It says 37 because my goal, my belief is that we will get back to where we were as a sector. My goal, personal goal, a commitment to my team is to get us back to one better than where we were. So we were at 36. We will get to 37. I don't know when that will be, but I'm optimistic that we will be able to build our business for this community and for the convention center and for the convention bureau, as well as Grayson, back to where we were. And we will need those 37 people in addition to the 100 and some part-time people that we have. But that's my goal, is to get to 37. If we get there, that means that the greater good in the ecosystem has done that well. And we've all rallied together, because we will rally together. We will rise and we will thrive. And I thank you all for your efforts and everything that you do to make this wonderful place that I call home, the wonderful place that it was, that it is, although it's off kilter a little bit, and that it certainly will be again. And hopefully I'm staying on time. I'm seeing Connor there, and I'm happy to answer any questions and go forth with your process however you wish. And I appreciate you all listening to me in the expeditious manner in which I spoke.
Yeah, Greg, this was phenomenal. No, and a couple of comments that just trickled in there towards the end, just about how your enthusiasm and energy are much appreciated and contagious and much needed. And we were joking with the Dr. Rob's icebreaker for today that there's definitely a lot of serotonin and dopamine infused for us all right now here on the call. So we appreciate that. Great presentation. And I know, just personally, an article I read the other day, I completely understand what you're saying about the pent-up demand. It was about the flight to nowhere. I don't know if anyone on this call had heard about that, but on October 10th of this year, 150 passengers took a 7-hour round trip flight from Sydney, Australia to Sydney, Australia, just for the sake of flying and travel. And so, countries like China, I know they're saying travel's about flat or back up to where it was, I should say, prior to the pandemic, with air travel still, down 60% or more for the US. But I would completely agree and concur that there's going to be a lot of pent-up demand, and obviously, hopefully Akron and other communities are the beneficiaries of that. A few questions that had come in, and anyone else, please feel free to raise your hand or chime in. And Greg, you may have touched on a few pieces of this throughout your presentation, so apologies if any of it's redundant. But one of the questions that had first come in is, you know, what amount of money was actually lost, if you can answer that, due to COVID, and how, just beyond PPP and other programs that you guys may have benefited from, how are you able to stay afloat, you know, during this downturn? Obviously, you mentioned some grants that helped with a few initiatives too, but are you able to address that a little bit more fully?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And so the initial number, sort of the non-validated, non-stamped number, the theoretical number is about, the industry was down about 50%. Hotels, travel was down 50%. The restaurants are probably down a little bit, depending on the restaurant, their ability to pivot. And that's not suggest, because some just were set up better to pivot in their ability to do to-go meals, you know, walk out and drop 20 meals in a trunk, versus a fine dining restaurant like Ken Stewart's is going to have more of a challenge. Luigi's, which is a little bit more destinational, you can only do so many to-go pizzas. They were probably more in the 55 to 70%, but hotel sector was down for the year, probably approximately 50%. For PPP and survival, and sort of how we sort of stretched out our rocket fuel to get to the end of the year, unfortunately, we were not able to apply for PPP money, us as our organization. We're a 501c6, and until just recently with this last iteration, I think it was CARES 4, the HEALS Act that just passed, and we're still waiting for the enabling legislation to be written through, was the first time that 501c6s were permitted to apply for PPP. So C3s were, C4s were, C5s and C6s and C9s were not. So we are able to, and we sort of have that, that memory stick loaded with all the information, waiting for the portal to open on the other side so we can connect it and hopefully receive some funds. So how did we survive? We survived by changing people's lives, unfortunately, and having to lay off people the magnitude that I mentioned, as well as doing the salary reductions, and then just severe budget cuts. And there were some really tough decisions. When for 25 years, you were the organization that was able to earn money, spend money. I do believe you need to, in our industry, you need to spend money in marketing to make money for your partners. And we were able to do that. We were not able to do that. So we really had to ratchet it back and make some really tough decisions, and let some of our advertising and marketing partners down 91.3. I see they're on the call. Unfortunately, we had to lower what we historically were able to do our sponsorships there were, as an example. Hopefully on the other side, we'll be able to ramp it back up and make for it. But for right now, to be able to survive, we had to sort of tourniquet everything, is how we have gotten through it. And while our loss will be significant and expected, we will be able to move forward and regain the platform for where we were.
No, thank you for that insight, Greg. We appreciate it. And real quick, Dr. Rob, we're going to let you close the meeting. I know you've reached out there. And then Greg, are you able to stay on? We keep the line open for about 15 minutes. There's a few other questions that I'm sure members would love to have answered that I was going to go through here in the chat. And if you're able to stay on, we'll close the meeting and then extend the questions after.
More than happy to. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Happy to stay on. I'll go on mute until you're all ready.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Greg. That was a great presentation. And I echo that your energy is spectacular. And I look forward to actually meeting you in person. I know I've seen you in passing, but never really had an introduction. And you're welcome back to Rotary anytime on a Tuesday at noon that you need a person fix. We're here. I don't know how much we fix, but we do our best. For the team, next week's speaker is Chef Rosh. Katie was able to bring that speaker to us too, so we're looking forward to that presentation. And until then, may good sportsmanship prevail and the best team win on Sunday. We are adjourned.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Rob. And in case anyone has to hop off, I'm going to try to just pick up questions where we were. Please, and I will mention, Greg, you'd asked about college advice for, empty nester and everything. Julie Brandel had made the comment that buy tissues, hashtag buy tissues. It's a longer conversation, but that's some of her advice there. So kind of circling back, I'm going to blend a couple of questions in one. One of our members was asking if you see bookings starting to pick up in the fall yet. And then another member had asked, and I don't think he'll mind, Dr. Rob had said that he was seeing in his industry, large in-person educational meetings starting to be advertised to take place in April. When is your industry predicting a realistic shift in larger in-person meetings? I think you touched on that a little bit, but can you provide some more clarity on that?
Sure. So thank you, and great questions. And again, appreciate those that stuck around. So if I can sort of split a hair just a little bit between sort of national sentiment and national. So you're going to see events in Florida coming back earlier than us. You're going to see events in Las Vegas coming back earlier than us, just based on restrictions or pliability of restrictions, where ours are a little bit more, Governor DeWine has us a little bit more hunkered down, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Certainly respect the decisions that are being made, looking for ways to open that back up in a safe way with protocol. So I do feel that April is probably a realistic time frame for some meetings to start. I think in April, we'll still start to see the hybrid meetings where you're going to offer, okay, if you want to come in person, you can come in person, and that's $500, and you get a meal and you get this, and you get to go to the reception afterwards and see the awards program. If you want to go virtual, it's $199, and you get, here's your login codes and things of that nature, and you get to see both. I think as we start to get closer to the summer, you're going to see the virtual waning off, sort of like it's going to be virtual and in person. And you're going to see as you get into midsummer evening out, and then hopefully by August, you're going to see the virtual going down to a smaller degree and the in-person coming up. That's my hope and belief. Again, that sans any sort of missteps with the rollout of the vaccines or any sort of resurgence, things of that nature. Again, outside of my scope of intelligence, but certainly my scope of understanding and how that could change things.
Oh, no, thank you, Greg. We appreciate that answer. And you kind of answered one of the other questions, which was just if you see any difference here in Northeast Ohio versus other areas in the U.S., or if Ohio was the norm. So I think you kind of addressed that there too. John Daly, you unmuted. Did you have a question, sir?
No, I do not.
Nope. Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wanted to make sure, just in case. So no problem. Picking right back up then, Greg, we had a member ask, and you had mentioned, of course, wanting to, bring it back to whole +1 at least, that being your goal as far as employment and everything. Do you see any aspect of the new work you've talked about being a lasting part of your operations, or some of the things that you guys have had to do to pivot beyond, of course, just trying to survive and get through this? Do you see anything sticking around longer term based off some things that have been discovered?
Yeah, I do, and that's a great question. I do. I think that we've learned to work harder and work smarter and work in real time while still looking forward and being more concerned about safety and health. Not that we weren't, but being more concerned rather than about quality of, how's a chicken breast taste? Well, how comfortable are people being in the room versus the room looking really nice? Now we need to know, are people comfortable being in the room? Additionally, I'm sort of really old school. I don't not wear a tie very often. And they tease me, we don't do dress down days. We do like 2 jean days a year, and one's for like Christmas for ugly sweater or whatever. So when we were a hybrid of in office and then remote, and I went to sort of casual, and they freaked out because we were allowed to wear khakis and golf shirts, and I'd wear a blazer but not a suit. I don't know exactly when we'll be suited again, for lack of a better, hopefully it's not an inappropriate term, when we'll be for true dress up apparel. And my belief that there might be the ability for some people to work remotely from home in our industry that I historically never, I would be like, yeah, you're a salesperson. I need you here. I need to see you. I need to touch, smell, taste. But based on some of the actions that I'm seeing, some people working remotely from their home and don't tell anybody on the staff that I've thought about that yet, that might be something I see in our future. And the ability to connect with people at home, I think is really, really important. Yes.
Okay, no, that's great. No, we appreciate that answer. And as you're talking, it just made me think you once again may have addressed this in some fashion throughout the presentation, but other, contiguous communities to the greater Akron area, and my office, of course, is in North Canton, so the greater Canton area, but I'm heavily involved in both Akron and Canton. A lot of our members, of course, even in Medina or Canton, Akron. Is there any collaboration going on with, those that are in a similar role to yourself in those communities, as far as just brainstorming or anything that's happened? And apologies again if you've answered that already.
Yeah, no, thank you. And if I didn't, maybe I should have. So there has been historically with my counterpart, which is Dave Gilbert at Positively Cleveland, and my counterpart, which is Ali Bussey to the south at Visit Canton. And we've worked together on many things from the Gay Games, GG9 in 2014 to the Republican National Convention. We bid on the Democratic National Convention 12 years ago, whenever it was. It's been some time. So we've worked together on quite a few things. There are through the Akron Canton Airport. There's a nice campaign that we work on together. So we've been great partners with that. And then additionally, there's partnerships where we have with the 7 convention centers in Ohio that we have a partnership to drive forth the convention center specific to that industry. So yeah, we've had some great results and some great partnerships in the past. I think that's the way through it. And also the recognition, we've all recognized that people do not recognize municipal boundaries. So they don't know whether they're in Canton or North Canton or Akron or Greene or Summit County or Cuyahoga County. They know that, and now they don't even look at a map. They put in their phone or their GPS, how do I get to this place? And then that's where they are. And to be honest, they don't really care where they are. They just want to be able to take a picture and put it on Facebook, or Brian wants to be able to film a TikTok and do a dance and put it on TikTok. And it really doesn't matter where they are. So the recognition collectively that there shouldn't be municipal boundaries that we follow, but that the greater good can grow if we worry about the greater good and not sort of worry only about ourselves, it has been fantastic with those partners. So it's very important to us. And yes, we have, do, and will continue to do that.
Phenomenal. No, and I'd love to see that TikTok, Brian. If you're, I'd love to see it if you're volunteering. I know I haven't seen Brian on TikTok yet, so I'd love to see that.
I think I was hoping Greg could explain to me what TikTok is.
It's the clock. Just.
Oh man, this is great. No, and Greg, as I'm looking here, seeing if any other questions have popped into the chat, we're in a smaller group now. So guys, if anything pops up, just raise your hand, let me know, or feel free to chime in. But I always like to make sure speakers know, we keep the floor open afterwards, and it's not always that we have this many people stay on afterwards, Greg. So I just think it's an affirmation of just the quality of your presentation, really being something needed and encouraging for our membership. So we've really enjoyed having you here. I'll ask here too, as I wait to see if anyone else has some questions. Things that we could do, and I think you've probably touched on this in multiple ways, but things that we can do as community members, as just Akronites and just whatever communities we're in, but folks that are believers in the Akron community, the Rotary Club of Akron, in the meantime, as we're waiting for that return to normalcy, and we're all waiting and chomping at the bit for it to happen, and hopefully it's after the summer of this year we can fully be there. But in the meantime, what can we do? Obviously the website resources you talked about and some of the ways we can engage are wonderful, but is there anything that we can do that's going to have a meaningful impact for you guys and the Akron community in the industries that have been most heavily impacted beyond ordering food online or doing what we can and what we feel safe to do right now?
Yeah, that's great. And I think so for corporations to connect with us via the one website is fine. For individuals to connect with us via the Reactivate site is great. I think the most important thing to do is first, mask up, get your vaccine, all those things that are obvious that Dr. Rob wants us to do and we should do. Keep your social distance, those type of not typical things we need to do, but are a little bit more we're all aware of. Additionally, I think it's important that we shop local, buy local, and talk local. So not only is it important that we, and no disrespect to Macaroni Grill, but that we don't get our food from Macaroni Grill, we get it from Vaqueros Tateria. Okay. And then we tell everybody what we did. And then we take pictures and we put it online, because while I sort of get tired of seeing people's food online, it's great. And you say, hey, I got this wonderful meal. There's a group called No High, which is North Hill, and they have a rotating chef, and there's a common kitchen, and the chef rotates every weekend, and they bring their international cuisine, whether they're whether it's Nepali food or whether it's Jamaican food or whatever it might be. And we try and get that as often as possible and then post it on social media. So those types of things, other than the sort of things that we all know, shop and buy local as much as you can, and then tell other people what you did so that it's sort of free advertising for them. So I love Macaroni Grill. I love the little peppadoo peppers that they do, but I also love a lot of other places that are local that I can buy from, that are going to help them and affect local people here also. So I think that probably would be my number one ask.
Okay. No, that's great. And a lesson for me in the correct pronunciation of I always called it Vacaros. So that was helpful for me because I think I'm pronouncing it incorrectly. So
I could be wrong.
I don't know. You sounded pretty pretty legitimate.
55 years of saying it wrong. I don't know.
I doubt that then. So well, Greg, that I believe I've gone through all the questions in the chat, and of course I had a running list of questions I had asked. Guys, for those that are still on here, we've got about 19, 20 people on the call still. Anyone, feel free to chime in. I know Carol, you had provided words of affirmation and just positive words. Greg, to keep the momentum going, and she's confident you and your team are going to come back even stronger as a result of your leadership. And so just kind words all around. I believe, okay, we're just looking in the chat here between Brian and Julie about social media. So anything else, guys? Anyone want to chime in here? I'll pause talking and see if anyone's got something to add to Greg. No?
Greg, we talked before everybody got on. This is Cheryl. I just want to thank you again. I've known you since the old days. And boy, it's been great to see you grow as a leader in this community and see everything that you've been able to achieve. So thank you.
I had some great mentors. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Greg, you make our city look good. You represent us well. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. And I know that our reservations are on hold because Brian was one that was getting us to every cool spot there was in France and Nice. So we'll be back, and we want to do the exact same pattern that we had. So we'll be back. You're the best.
C'est la vie.
So Greg, as we fold up this time, we started the meeting talking about, positivity really does change our brain chemistry. And I'm curious if you would share some of your personal, you don't have to, but what are things you do that keep that high energy going and maintain your morale during a challenging time like this pandemic?
Wow, that's a great question. So this morning when I was laying in the dental chair because I had a dental emergency and I had some work done at 8 o'clock this morning, knowing that I was going to do this, was looking forward to this. I thrive on people, Dr. Rob, is really what it is. And to go really like super, super deep laying down on the couch, I've far succeeded where I ever was destined to be in my relationship with my wife, in the love that I have for and from my child, in the responsibilities that people have granted me in my life. So I've far exceeded that. So if I don't just thrive on that and think, look, my gosh, look at all that is around me. This is not where I was destined to be. This is just all wonderful things that have happened to me. If I don't take advantage of that and try and share that with other people and that enthusiasm, then shame on me, because there are other people that started off in the exact same place as me and just situationally or circumstantially or whatever it might be, they're not there. And I'm fortunately where I am. Not where I am, but where I am in my life. Shame on me if I don't share it with other people, if I don't try and bring people along with me also in the day, in the week, in their career. If I'm working up a ladder, I got to look next to me and grab people and help people move up that ladder with me, whether it's just in a meeting and a lunch, whether it's a conversation like this, or whether it's in a career. And I think that's what inspires me to do it, is just to be a person that's helping other people and around people. And I just thrive on the energy.
Well, you're doing something that works very well. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it and bring it back to Rotary. You sound like you're built for someone that's service above self. So anytime, come on back.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's right.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody. We're towards the end of our time. It was wonderful. We don't usually have this many people stick around, Greg. So you must have been giving out something we all wanted. So
Money.
Next to the vaccine, you sound like the next best thing.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
Everyone, see
You as
Greg.
well.
Stay
Bye,
safe.
guys.
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye.
Bye.